It's Mazzy here, and it's another time for Mazzy's Mix. Another Mazzy's Mix, number 24. 23 was my lucky number, so I felt like I should stop, but I can't stop. You know I can't stop. Music is too precious. The music is too important to me. The music. The records, yeah. I love the records, love collecting, but it's all about the music. I don't care how many times you buy a set and buy something just to stick it on your shelf. It's about the music, right? Right? Are you with me? Okay. New releases, a couple of VCLT vinyl community love train gifts that people have sent me. There's some great new jazz reissues that I've gotten, and I'm going to merge into a little feature based on one of the new jazz releases that came out, one of the reissues that came out, because I think it's an artist that is long overdue for a mini feature. I won't dig down too deep, but again, one of my all-time very favorite guitar players who's not Ry Cooder. But Ry Cooder, I'm sure he listened to him. But let's start with this. Now, note, this is not what we're all waiting for. This is not the upcoming all analog Kevin Gray cut from Universal Music of What's Going On by Marvin Gaye, one of the greatest albums of all time, arguably. And there hasn't been a good issue in print. There's been a digital kind of funky version, but it's been delayed. I think it's March, April, whenever is that Kevin Gray's coming out UMG. But this just came out. And what this is, see the Obi? Japanese imported, but they're distributed by Light in the Attic. Light in the Attic, a distributor and a label out of Seattle. Sometimes they license other records from other countries and put them out in this country, and this is spectacular. Now, my guess is from digital sources, but it sounds really good. And what this is the original Detroit mix. What is that, you say? Well, this album was first mixed in Detroit, and this sounds very different than the version we all know. Now, this has been available, I think, since 2001 on an expanded CD set, which I do not have. I just have a regular compact disc version, but there was an expanded version of this that has this, which was rare at the time, the Detroit mix. He went to LA after that and just said, it's not happening for me, and he remixed it. Now, the one we all know is probably smoother, sexier, more dreamy like. This is close, but there are certain things that stand out. If you know this record a lot, you'll know the bass is more prominent in some cases. The saxophone seems more prominent, the way the mix was up in the saxophone. Also, you hear him double tracking vocals, and they're not as smoothly synced like in the LA version of it. It's just different. And is one better? Obviously, I think the LA version is, only because maybe I know it for 50 years. But I listened to this, and I did not A-B it. I didn't put them on at the same time. I know that album really well. I probably last heard it about a month, 6 weeks ago. So it's in my mind, and all of a sudden things pop up, and you go, oh, that's interesting. That Mellotron is mixed down. It's not the end like it was on the LA mix. This is really good. Again, highly recommended. Again, from Light in the Attic. I don't know how long these are going to be in print. Light in the Attic stuff goes in and out of print. So if I would suggest go to their website if you don't find it at your local. But if you're a fan of this record, this is a no-brainer. It's not just having another pressing of Marvin Gaye's What's Going On. It's a different record. It's kind of like having a mono and stereo, although they're both stereo in this case. But fantastic reissue and a fantastic release. Love it. Light in the Attic from Japanese. Now, Marvin Gaye. Now, sticking with the sort of funky ways, I think this is the third album by the Seattle trio, jazz, funk, rock trio of Devon Lamar organ trio. And this is Cold as Weiss, and Weiss is the name of their drummer, just by coincidence. So the Devon Lamar organ trio, they did an album just a year and a half ago, I believe, they put out. I think this is a better album than the second album. The first one was the live one, as I recall. This is put on by Coal Mine Records, and it's funky soul. It's nothing magnificent. Everyone loves this stuff, but I'd rather go for a Jimmy Smith record any day. not that we should compete or anything. This is great that they're touring around the world and doing this funky jazz, soul fusion thing really wonderfully. And I saw them once in Seattle about 4 years ago, I believe. And this is a great release. This is the indie exclusive, and I'm not one that usually gets into the whole, I don't give a shit about a color record, but this is basically Cold as Weiss. Icy blue, clear, Coal Mine Records. The Devlon Lamar Organ Trio. Nothing wrong with that. This record I've been waiting for, and this is Billy Bragg's new album, and it's The Million Things That Never Happened. I think it's been at least 6 months. This came out digitally on CD, and the vinyl literally just shipped in the last week or two. I'm a huge fan of Billy Bragg. Got into him since I first saw him open up, was it the early 80s, opened up at the Berkeley Community Theater for Echo and the Bunnymen, and everyone was so excited to see Echo and the Bunnymen, and he came out just with his electric guitar and wowed the crowd, basically with his punk folk sensibilities, his wonderful English accent, working class Woody Guthrie-like troubadour. Fantastic. I have every album of his, and I will continue to get every album. Now, I've only heard this 3 times so far. I like it. Not quite sure I love it yet, but the opening cut, I think, oh no, the second cut, Mid-Century Modern, I think is the single. I think it's a little too produced for my taste, but I'll settle down. The rest of this album is really good, and I love Billy Bragg. I saw him, I must have seen him 7, 8 times now, and he did an in-store with Joe Henry after they did that ongoing train album they recorded on trains and at train stations around America, which is a fantastic record right there. So I saw it in-store at Easy Street Records in Seattle. When that came out, I got a signed copy from Joe Henry and Billy Bragg. But this is the new album. Love this cover. And what else can I say? To the workers and to Jimmy, to Billy, Jimmy. Thinking of, I don't know who am I thinking of. Now, coming out of this, again, now this is Subpop Records, a Seattle label, but they're not from Seattle, I don't think, as I recall. I'm a big fan of some dream pop records, and this is a special edition of the new Beach House record. It looks like something you'd see in Elvis's living room, right? This is looks like his seating arrangement with these white and gold fringe things. Weird cover for this. This looks like a Barry White album box set. I mean, it just does. I mean, you know that whole. Anyway, this is called Once Twice Melody Beach House. This is the expanded box that has a beautiful art book. Finn. Okay, let's just go through the. Again, if you watch me, you're not new to me. You know I love art, photography, design, elements. And, you know, most of you will say, I don't need that shit, just give me the record. And you can do that. But they illustrate all the songs in the record, and it's a fabulous record. Photography, illustration, paintings, really great. And, of course, 2 separate LPs, each in their own cover. And just in time, we just missed Valentine's Day. Look at this. And you know what's great about this? You can Beach House, you can literally take to the beach, and you can get your, I need tan. I'm in Seattle. We get a lot of overcast and dark winter nights, long, 4:30 if it's dark in the wintertime. But I can take my Beach House record if I can find some light here, and there we go. But anyway, indulge me, kind of have some fun. Music is, records are your best entertainment value, even if you upgrade to the big box set. But I haven't listened to this. I've heard some digital versions and I really like it. It's pretty much more of the same, but it's really good. And if you like dream pop, if you like Beach House, if you like the Cocteau Twins, if you don't know Beach House, check it out. Is it the red velvet cover, cherry something? It's amongst my favorite, but I like all their records. And I don't have every single one, but I have most of them. And the other one that's in the gold thing has this color. So you're getting to see some art shit here. And it does have 2 posters of each of the album covers print-wise. I'm not going to open these, fold them out, but suitable for hanging over your bed or at your beach house if you have a beach house. And if you have your beach house, you might not be watching my videos here. Maybe at your beach house watching these videos, which would be kind of cool, right? So Beach House's new album, Dream Pop, fantastic outfit. 3 things I got from friends and new friends. This is Foxygen. I think this is like 12 years old. And Diane Coffey, my friend Fish, who played with Foxygen. This is their best album yet, according to the hype sticker. And I haven't listened to this yet. And this is sent to me by Vinyl Richie. Vinyl Richie, either you love this record, and since you love me, you wanted me to share this, or you bought these records and you hated them, so you shared me. But I will jump into these. It's been a busy week personally, as well as professionally, as well as record-wise. So these are my next cue to be on the turntable. 2013, there we go. So this came out right when just about before I left San Francisco and moved to Seattle. Sold my house in 2013, moved in 2014. And don't know much about this, really. Don't know much about these. But I remember a couple people talking about Foxygen. So anybody in the comments, write what you think about them. And I will report back once I listen to these there. And then this album. I had this album on vinyl before my 95 Purge. In 1995 Purge, this went away for a while. I love this record. This is a game changer of a record, and it's probably John Cale's most commercial, accessible record. Obviously, he was the Welshman who was the original member of Velvet Underground, and he put this album out in 1973. And it was produced by Chris Thomas, who had been working with Procol Harum, and then will later work with the Pretenders and many other British artists. This is a fantastic album. Baroque, neoclassical, modern pop music of the 70s. Very unusual and really a grower. I know this album pretty well, and my friend Rob, who goes by the name The Wax on the vinyl community, I'll put a link below to his channel, had this. He's selling off a collection of a friend, and I ended up acquiring this. And first of all, I love the album, and any chance I get a fairly clean, a really clean copy, actually. That's a white label promo, and I know this period of Warner Brothers records is really good. And during this period, Warner Brothers would put a lot of these inserts in. There happens to be 2 copies here, so he snuck one in. I don't know if they're exactly the same. I haven't. They look slightly different, but they're lyrics to the record. Some of this, there's some orchestration work. He comes from an avant-garde side too, and he was ironically, the artsy guy in the band, even though they were kind of an artsy band, Velvet Underground, with Andy Warhol championing them, pioneering them, and obviously bringing in Nico and creating the first cover for them, the Banana. He was the one that went on to do this avant-garde stuff, and they had a big falling out, John and Lou Reed, and until they did Songs of Drella. Songs of Drella is sort of the it's one of my favorite albums, and it's a duo album of John Cale and Lou Reed about Andy Warhol. And Drella was a nickname, because Andy Warhol was referred to as a combination of Dracula and Cinderella. That's where Drella comes from, and that's a wonderful record. That was issued, I think, last year before on Record Store Day. I do have an original copy of that. I love that CD. But this is a fantastic album. There's some epic arrangements that almost recall some of Procol Harum's pieces, like the Live in Edmonton album with the orchestra. So there's some orchestration too, and some rock and roll, but I'd say it's more of a Baroque type of feel to the record. Very highly regarded record. It's a favorite record of mine, and I haven't had it on vinyl since 1995. So thanks, Rob, for holding this out and selling it to me. I appreciate that. Seriously, I do. So there you go. I did get, this was a surprise, Black Acid Soul. And this is Lady Blackbird I didn't know who Lady Blackbird was, and I thought maybe this was sent to me because of Blackbird, because the Beatle connection off Paul McCartney's song on the White Album, and was sent through Amazon with a gift for me. And it says, a fantastic new release I love that I think you'll really like as well. I really enjoy your videos and just wanted to share some music. Let me know what you think. And this is Lance Blackshaw. I follow him on Instagram. He comments on my videos occasionally and on Instagram, and he reached out to me to get my address, and I was gobsmacked. I mean, I don't expect or solicit people sending me records. And this is fantastic. I did listen to it when I got it a couple weeks ago, week and a half ago, 2 weeks, whenever, and it's very little Sarah Vaughan, little Billie Holiday. That's soulful, bluesy, jazzy vocals, really bedroom. Julie London, Nina Simone in that wheelhouse. Really good. And this is like this came out last year. Fantastic, fantastic. If you like that kind of description I said, you'll love this. It's not trying to be a hybrid of rock and roll. It's not trying to be some hipster thing. It's loungy, but it's a gorgeous record. It sounds good. Lady Blackbird, very generous of you, and this has been on my turntable. I've listened to it about 4 times now. It's a good late night record, a good Sunday morning record, but really, really good record. Highly recommended. Lady Blackbird, look at her. You just know she's gonna sing these songs really well. Now the new jazz reissues. I've said this before on my channel, and you've read about it if you follow the forums, the music forums, and you buy new releases, new reissues. It's like a golden age for jazz reissues. Not all audiophile, but even the ones that aren't, are some really great stuff out there. Obviously the Tone Poets and the Music Matters Jazz, which are actually hard to get now, but the Blue Note reissues and even the Verve Acoustic Sound series. One of my favorite labels of all of them out of France is Sam Records. And this just came out, Donald Byrd, Bobby Jaspar, Cannes, 1958. This is a fantastic record. I think it's Fred, a one-man shop at Sam Records, and he'll ship something to you, take care of you. I usually buy them directly because I don't always find them in the States. I know In Grooves occasionally have them. There's a couple places in Seattle that get them here and there. They've done some great reissues of Bobby Jaspar, who's on this, who's a flautist and sax player. And they've done some great ones of Chet Baker and several things. And most of their stuff, there's some live, and they're from Barclay and Polydor Records that were French releases only originally in the late 50s and 60s. And look at that picture of a young Donald Byrd getting autographs, signing records. Love that, right? God. He does some standards on here. It's live. I get a kick out of you. It could happen to you. When Your Love Is Gone Away, Boogie Woogie, and Bobby Jaspar original called Flute Bop. Fantastic record, beautiful noir-like cover, and I love this. I don't get everything of Sam Records, but I get quite a few. Now there's been a plethora of reissues. Acoustic Sounds is reissuing their series that are prestige record series, bluesy and jazz, and they kind of go like that. Some of the reissues may come back in larger quantities. Some are just limited right now because they've had extra covers and they didn't have to print the covers, and they pressed labels. And one I got, which is amazing, is a record I've had on CD, never on vinyl, is Soul Train by Coltrane on Prestige, and the avant-garde, somewhat out there world of Eric Dolphy, Far Cry with Booker Little. This is a fantastic record as well, and I'm a big fan of Eric Dolphy. He's someone that's not always easy to get into, depending what you're into, but he's fantastic. So there's the jazz stuff. And then Tone Poets, there's 2 Tone Poets that came out. One is this Rough and Tumble with Stanley Turrentine. It's more of an easygoing record. This is 1966, so it's soul jazz. It's not hard bop, but it's a fantastic record. So I've been reading some of the people think it's a little too safe, but this would be a good entry point for people. And it's got, there's Everyone Is On It. You can read yourself that. And lastly, for the reissues, and it's a record that I've been really excited about. And I've heard this music in the past. And this is Pacific Jazz, was the West Coast jazz label, which had a very different sound that was happening on the East Coast. Some would say it's more the white jazz that was going on with Jerry Mulligan and Art Pepper and Chet Baker and others. And this is Joe Pash for Django. Django Reinhardt's one of my all-time favorite guitar players, and I'll get into him in a minute. And that's my feature today, is going to feature some of my Django records and talk about him and his music a little bit. This has some songs written by Django. Now, Joe Pass is an amazing guitar player. He did a lot of records. He was signed by Norman Granz, did some stuff on Verve. Years later, in his later years, he worked pretty much a lot with Ella Fitzgerald, and there's a bunch of Pablo Records jazz recordings of Joe Pass and Ella Fitzgerald. He's in a similar style of Wes Montgomery. He's got this interesting rhythmy thing at the same time he does his singular note picking, which is really hard to do. Some think he's a little too safe, like some people think Wes Montgomery. He's not like the Grant Greens or even the Kenny Burrells. Some people think he's safe, he's middle of the road. He did a lot of commercial film work, soundtrack work throughout the 60s and 70s as well. But this record, it came out in 1964, sort of a tribute to Django Reinhardt. And it's a smooth record. It's a very accessible record. It sounds awesome. And it's just lovely. Joe Pass, some people literally pass on him because he's not that hard bop or he's not as hip as some artists, but he's an incredible player. And this is a really gorgeous album. And that's going to lead me into talking about Django. I got into Django Reinhardt in the early 70s, and I have a series of albums here. Django was a gypsy guitar player, kind of came about in the early 30s to mid 30s with the quintet of the Hot Club of France with Stéphane Grappelli. Now, he was involved in a fire early on where he basically had two fingers paralyzed, and he learned to play guitar in a totally different style. His music is fantastic. I'd say if you've ever watched Woody Allen movies, you've heard his music on a bunch of Woody Allen movies too. In fact, the movie that Woody Allen made with Sean Penn is about this guitar player, moving around America in search of Django Reinhardt, his just idol. He could not fathom knowing Django, wanted to be as good or better than Django Reinhardt. So that's a great Woody Allen film if you check it out. I think Samantha Morton is in it too. And here are some of my records. So he plays with Stéphane Grappelli in the 30s and the 40s at the Hot Club. Obviously the war separates a lot of things, breaks up. They kind of reunite a little bit and play together in the 50s. But no particular order. I think this is a fantastic cover. This is one of my favorite guitar-based album covers, that beautiful still life, Django Reinhardt. And these are recordings from 1936 and 1937. If you're looking for vinyl, this series of records on GNP Crescendo. GNP Crescendo, these were issued around 75, 76, and there's a whole series of them. And these actually sound quite good, and I bought them then, so they're in pristine shape. This is the Quintet of the Hot Club of France in 1935 to 1939, again with Stéphane Grappelli. Again, more here. A lot of jazz pop standards at the end of the day. Sweet Georgia Brown, Night and Day, Honeysuckle Rose, Daphne, but really beautiful, beautiful music. That violin, Stéphane Grappelli, by the way, is a violin player, if you don't know. His sort of violin player with the gypsy guitar playing of Django Reinhardt. And this was Django Reinhardt, Stéphane Grappelli, Quintet of the Hot Club of France. These were recorded in 1937. This is a fun kind of overview. If you don't have any of them, this might be one way to start. Pretty much any of these, I would say there's a lot of overlap with my collection with Django Reinhardt records. And in a way, you always get that same feel. Occasionally there'll be a vocalist here and there. So it doesn't really matter. You just want a good kind of comp of any of these. This is sort of a random comp I just picked up at some point. Volume 3, Django Reinhardt on Everest Records, folk and jazz music label, the 70s. I only have volume 3 of this. Most likely there's a lot, again, overlapping, because they did record a lot of the same tracks over the years. This is France, CBS French label. Again, these are archival recordings. If you're looking for that perfect audiophile thing, get that out of your system. Enjoy the music. This is fantastic music, beautifully recorded, but again, not audiophile stuff, but it's really beautiful, moody music. It makes you feel good. Any of these on the EMI Pathé or the CBS France label. These are both French releases. A lot of his records were issued there, obviously, because of Stephen Grappelli and the Hot Club of France. That's where they played. That's where they performed. And one other comp that might be worthwhile if you can find it, recorded in Paris again. This is a Capitol Records comp. I believe this is like the early 60s, late 50s, probably early 60s maybe. Best of Django Reinhardt 24 Jazz Classic Performance. If you can find a clean copy of this, I have no idea. So Django Reinhardt. Now, those of you in the CDs, if you can find this long out of print, Mosaic, the great jazz, mostly CDs, they did some vinyl, reissue label, put the 6 CD set out. Michael Cascuna was the curator for Mosaic Records. He put this out, and this is the Hot Club of Paris from 1936 to 1948. This is very comprehensive. This is a fantastic set if you can find it. And this is the kind of stuff while I'm working, I just pop it in the CD player and just let it play all day. That's it. That's Django Reinhardt, great gypsy guitar player. Thanks for watching on this mix video. Again, a mix of new releases, some jazz, some VCLT, and thanks for watching. Mazzy loves you.